Over the next few minutes, I'll show you everything you need to know to use the Insta360 X6 properly, what hidden features it has, what the best settings are, and how you can get the most out of the X6. At the end, I'll also show you the special features of the Insta360 app. To make this tutorial easier to follow, it's divided into 20 chapters. If you're looking for a specific chapter or want to watch it again, you'll find the timestamps below in the video description. And many thanks to Insta360 for sponsoring this video. Have fun with this tutorial. Like any 360 camera, the Insta360 X6 has 2 sensors and 2 lenses. The fisheye lenses protrude slightly and should therefore be well protected. There are several ways to do this. Naturally, you should always pack the camera securely when you're on the move. For example, in a pouch included in the standard bundle. Another way to protect the lenses would be a rubber lens cap like this one. The lens cap isn't included in the standard bundle, but comes with the essentials bundle. If you don't have one, I definitely recommend getting one. You can fit it on quickly and it offers good protection for the lenses. If despite everything you damage a lens, there's also a lens replacement kit available for the X6. It contains all the tools and spare parts you need to replace the lens cover. I'll show you how that works a little later. The X6 has the battery door on the left hand side, and at the bottom on the right hand side, a smaller side door behind which there's a USB-C port that you can use to charge the camera and connect accessories, such as a microphone adapter or a quick card reader. To attach a microphone adapter, for example, you need to remove the door by simply pulling it out. When closing the side doors, always make sure that no orange color is visible. Only then is the door properly closed and the camera waterproof. To open the battery door on the left side, press and hold the small button and then slide the door downwards. You can now open the door and pull the battery out by the tab. Once you've removed the battery, you'll find the SD card slot on the left side. The X6 has 47 GB of internal storage. However, this isn't sufficient in the long term, partly because 360 shots produce quite large files. To ensure the X6 works properly, you should use a very fast SD card, such as this one from Lexar. The card should have a rating of at least UHS-1 and V30. To insert the card, push it into the SD card slot with the label facing inwards. Now reinsert the battery, close the door, and the camera is ready to shoot. But before we switch it on, I'd like to briefly show you the buttons. The X6 has a total of 3 buttons for operation, 2 on the side and 1 on the back. The top button on the side is the power button. You use it to switch the camera on and off and to activate the standby mode. The bottom button on the side is the shutter button, which you use to start and stop recording. The button on the back is the quick button. This allows you to switch quickly between the main shooting modes and check the charging status whilst the camera is charging. We'll see in a moment that the X6 also has 2 virtual buttons, which are very important for operating the camera. Incidentally, the quick button and the power button are customizable. On the other side of the camera, you'll find a 1/4 inch thread. This allows you to attach the X6 to various mounts. The ideal mount for a 360 camera is a selfie stick, as it's automatically removed from the shot when taking a 360 video. If you don't already own a selfie stick, I'd recommend starting with this 114 cm model from Insta360. It's the perfect stick for beginners. It's short when retracted and relatively long when fully extended. It's crucial that the selfie stick is mounted straight onto the camera, as only then will it be automatically removed from the shot. You therefore don't need to do anything special to achieve the invisible selfie stick effect. You simply need to hold your X6 straight with the stick whenever taking 360 shots. If you use it with a bent stick and hold it like a conventional action camera, you won't achieve the desired cool invisible selfie stick effect. There are of course plenty of interesting mounts for the X6. If you're interested in finding out which are the best mounts for this camera, then have a look at my video on the subject. Links to all the videos and accessories I mentioned today can be found in the description below. Okay, let's switch on the camera. As I said, you do this using the power button on the side. You'll need to activate your X6 at the beginning, and to do that, you'll need to connect it to the Insta360 app. You don't just need the Insta360 app for the initial activation of the camera, you also need it to update the firmware. What's more, the app has a whole host of extremely useful and essential features. For example, you can use the app to reframe your 360 shots. Launch the app and connect your camera by tapping the camera icon at the bottom center. And you can also connect the camera even faster via NFC. To do this, enable Bluetooth and Wi-Fi on your smartphone and hold your phone's NFC area on an iPhone. This is the area to the right of the cameras against the lower half of the screen of the X6. A notification prompting you to open the app should pop up, and you can then easily connect your camera. Once the camera is connected, you can activate it. The app will also notify you if a new firmware update is available. And you should install any new updates straight away. Updates don't just fix bugs. New features are also constantly and continuously being added. If you tap the camera icon again, you can fully control your X6 via this interface. Here you can select the shooting mode, change the settings, and of course start recording. The app has a few particularly important features, which we'll look at in more detail at the end of the video. But first, let's take a closer look at how to operate the camera. When your X6 is in standby mode, press the power button on the right briefly to wake up the camera. If you swipe down from the top, the settings menu opens. If you swipe from the left edge to the right, you'll see an overview of your recordings. Here you can view, select, and delete them. And interestingly, using these icons here on the left and right, you can transfer selected recordings directly to your smartphone or to the cloud. If you swipe up from the bottom, you can adjust the basic recording settings, namely resolution and frame rate. If you swipe from the right edge to the left, the menu with the advanced image settings opens. If you tap the small icon at the bottom right, you can switch the lens. That is, which lens view is displayed in the preview. Here you can see the currently set resolution and frame rate. If you tap on it, you can change these settings. And as you can see, there are two virtual buttons at the bottom. To use them, you don't just need to tap them, you have to press them, just like a real button. They'll then provide haptic feedback. The left button is also a shutter button and has the same functions as the shutter button on the side. The right button is also extremely important, as it opens the menu with the various recording modes. And there are quite a few of them. But before we look at the recording modes, here is another cool trick. In the settings menu, you can enable the full screen press feature. Once you've enabled this feature, you can start and stop a recording by pressing anywhere on the touchscreen. Incidentally, this also works when wearing gloves, so it can be particularly useful in winter. But let's get back to the recording modes, because in this context, you'll need to make a fundamental decision. The X6 can take 360 shots or so-called flat shots, that is normal, non-360 shots. When you shoot in 360 mode, the camera stitches the images from both lenses together into a 360 image. You can export and use such a shot as a 360 video. Then you'll have a clip where you can look around in all directions during playback. But much more often, you'll select the optimal framing from a 360 shot and then export a standard video clip from it. The ability to choose the best framing is a huge advantage. However, you should be aware that you can't use a 360 recording directly. You'll always have to edit it before you can use it. You can do this in the Insta360 smartphone app or in the Studio desktop app. It's now very quick and easy to do, especially in the smartphone app. Of course, I'll show you how it works later. If, on the other hand, you're recording a flat clip, you use the X6 like a conventional camera, for example an action camera. In this case, only the footage from one of the two lenses is recorded. That's why it's important to select the right lens before recording. As mentioned, you can do this using the icon in the bottom right corner. And there's one more thing to keep in mind. A flat video doesn't have the invisible selfie stick effect. The camera works like a regular action camera. You'll need to hold it in a way that ensures optimal framing while you're recording. You can't reframe the shot in post. And depending on the situation, you'll also see the selfie stick in the image. On the other hand, the result of your recording will be a standard video clip that you won't need to edit further. When recording in 360 mode, however, the selfie stick is automatically removed from the recording. You don't need to do anything else. This is an automatic feature of a 360 camera. The only important thing is that, as mentioned earlier, you've mounted your selfie stick straight onto the camera. When recording, you don't have to hold your camera like a conventional camera. You'll select the correct framing in post. Instead, you should keep in mind while recording that the selfie stick will disappear from the image, and hold your arm or hand in such a way that the final result doesn't look too strange. Whether you're in 360 mode or in single lens mode, there are various shooting modes available to you. Please don't let the camera's many features overwhelm you. In most cases, you'll only use the most important shooting modes. I'll show you what those are and how they work. Of course, the most important shooting mode is the standard video mode. In addition to the standard video mode, there's also a photo mode, a time-lapse mode that lets you capture very interesting time-lapse footage, a time shift mode for hyperlapse shots, and very special shooting modes, such as a loop mode or a road mode for using the X6 as a dashcam. There is a star-lapse mode for capturing the night sky and an interval mode that takes photos at set intervals. But the most interesting of these special shooting modes is the bullet time mode. To use it, you mount the camera on a dedicated bullet time mount and then rotate it horizontally in a circle. The result is a particularly cool effect, as you can see here, so keep bullet time in mind. But you'll need a suitable mount that lets you rotate the camera in a circle overhead. For example, this bullet time accessory. In addition to the standard video and photo modes, however, the two most important shooting modes on the X6 are the pure video mode and the Instaframe mode, which you'll find under the shooting modes for flat recordings. The pure video mode is a video mode designed for shooting in low light, and you should definitely keep this in mind, because you'll achieve significantly better results in low light with the pure video mode than with the standard video mode. This shooting mode is optimized for these situations. You should also consider that low light includes indoor shots taken under artificial lighting. Therefore, you should use the pure video mode even for indoor shots. Sometimes there are situations, for example at dusk, where you're not sure whether it's appropriate to switch to the pure video mode. If you open the settings menu, you can enable the auto pure video feature on the far right. The camera will now automatically activate the pure video mode if the lighting conditions aren't good enough. This is a very useful feature that you should activate. The Instaframe mode is quite unique. As mentioned, you'll find it among the shooting modes for flat shots. In this mode, the X6 simulates the behavior of a gimbal camera. When you open the settings, you can select the stabilization modes just as you would on a gimbal. The camera will record a flat clip and the movements will be based on the selected gimbal mode. For example, only in FPV mode are lateral rotations possible. In the other two modes, the horizon remains level, but the Instaframe mode can do much more. Similar to a gimbal, you can select a subject by double tapping the screen, and the camera will then track it. You can even manually adjust the position. The camera will now track the subject during recording and keep it in the frame. As a result, you'll get a flat clip that's already optimally reframed. This means you can simply set up the X6 anywhere and let it track you from all angles. And if you're not entirely confident in the camera's framing, you can also use the 360 video backup feature to create a 360 video as a backup. So if the framing isn't quite right, you'll still have a 360 recording that you can reframe yourself. The Instaframe mode is extremely useful and exclusive to the X6. But to get the best possible results with the X6, you'll need to switch to video mode. And now I'll explain exactly how you should set up your X6 in standard video mode to achieve optimal results. The most important settings concern the resolution and the frame rate. In 360 mode, the highest possible resolution is 8K. Think of it this way: two 4K recordings from the two lenses are merged into a single 8K image. But since you always have to edit the footage in 360 mode and select the right framing, this 8K recording will be heavily cropped in post. That's why it's especially important for 360 recordings to choose the highest possible resolution when shooting. Only by recording in 8K will the result of the reframing be a high-resolution recording. In 8K, you can choose from frame rates ranging from 24 to 50 frames per second. As a general rule, the higher the frame rate, the smoother the footage looks. A low frame rate of 24 or 25 frames per second is considered particularly cinematic, since professional movies are shot at this frame rate. Note that 25 frames per second is intended for the PAL region, which includes most countries outside the US and Canada. Whether it's 24 or 25 frames per second, such a low frame rate has the drawback of creating a very jerky look when there's a lot of movement and the lighting conditions are good. For a smoother and more natural look, you should use 30 frames per second. I also recommend this for a 360 camera, since the goal here is usually not to create a cinematic look. Rather, you want to capture your experiences as naturally as possible. 50 frames per second look even more natural, and if needed, you can also create a slow motion clip from such a recording. But such a high frame rate also has its drawbacks. It results in larger files, consumes more power, and leads to poorer results in low light conditions. If you're unsure at first, I'd recommend 8K at 30 frames per second. For cool slow motion shots, you should reduce the resolution to 4K and shoot at 100 frames per second. But don't forget that you'll still need to reframe the shot. Shooting with these settings will result in significantly reduced image quality, so use these settings only if you really need a slow motion clip. You can also achieve higher quality slow motion footage by recording in the flat video mode at 4K with 120 frames per second. You won't get a 360 recording, but the slow motion footage will look significantly better. To access the other recording settings, swipe from the right edge to the left, and you'll find the most important setting right at the top: the color mode. On the X6, you can choose between 3 color modes: Standard, Dolby Vision, and iLog. Dolby Vision is a color profile that displays highlights significantly brighter than with a standard color profile. This results in higher contrast and a more realistic image. But you can only benefit from this if you view the footage on an HDR Dolby Vision compatible screen, such as a smartphone or a modern TV. You should therefore only shoot in Dolby Vision for this specific purpose. If you view the footage on a normal screen, it may appear slightly overexposed and lack contrast. If on the other hand you want to heavily edit the colors of your recordings, you should shoot in iLog. This is a flat 10-bit color profile that's well suited for color grading. The result is a very flat image with low saturation and contrast, which you'll definitely need to edit. You can convert the footage directly during reframing, but Insta360 also offers a lot for download that transforms your footage into a video with saturation and contrast with just one click. However, you shouldn't necessarily expect better dynamic range from iLog, since HDR processing is applied in the standard color profile. But shooting in iLog can generally lead to a slightly more natural result. If you enable color restoration down here, the preview will show the image as it will look after conversion. Note that this feature has no effect on the actual footage and only affects the preview. Personally, I edit the colors of my footage only very slightly, so I usually shoot in standard mode. Since a 360 camera has to find the right exposure for all sides, 360 footage can sometimes appear a bit bright and slightly overexposed. If this bothers you, you can set a slightly negative exposure compensation of -0.3 or -0.7 here under EV. This can sometimes be useful, but due to the HDR processing mentioned earlier, the highlights in particular are well protected in the standard color profile. If you open the Pro menu, you can adjust the exposure, that is the shutter speed and the ISO value, entirely manually. You can also set the white balance manually. With a 360 camera, getting the manual settings right is difficult, partly because the image has to look right on all sides. That's why I usually leave the settings on auto. The sharpness setting is interesting though. For a more cinematic look and less digital sharpness, you can set the sharpness to low here. And if you want to achieve the absolute best image quality with the X6, you should open the settings menu and set the bitrate to high under image settings. This is the only way to save as much image information as possible. But this also results in larger files and will use up storage space more quickly. So keep an eye on this setting if you're on a longer trip. Once you find your optimal recording settings, you can save them as a preset. This way, you can quickly and easily access your settings whenever you need them. To do this, open the settings menu again. In the bottom right corner, you'll find the preset icon. When you open the presets, you'll see the existing presets and can add a new one using the plus sign in the bottom left corner. Choose a name and if needed, adjust the settings. You can switch between the different presets using the button at the bottom right. You can also open this presets menu by tapping the virtual button for the recording modes and then tapping the preset icon at the bottom left. Here, you can quickly access the settings you've saved. Let's say you've just taken a 360 shot. As you already know, you need to edit every shot taken in 360 mode and select the correct framing. You can do this using the smartphone app or the Studio desktop app. Keep in mind, however, that some features are only available in the smartphone app. Once you've connected the camera to the app, tap Album and select the clip you want to reframe. The clip will now play automatically. You can start and stop playback with a simple tap on the screen. The smartphone app includes a wide range of features for editing your clips. But for now, we'll focus only on the basic functions that are important for reframing. The app offers several ways to reframe a 360 shot. First, you should choose whether you want the result of your editing to be a vertical clip in a 9:16 aspect ratio or a horizontal clip in the 16:9 aspect ratio. There's also the square 1:1 aspect ratio or the widescreen 2.35:1 format. But let's stick with a vertical shot. You can move around freely within the image with your finger. In most cases, you'll want to keep a subject, often yourself, in the center of the frame. At the bottom center, you'll see two options: Custom and AI frame. Custom means you select the framing manually. You can swipe the field to the right to find two additional options: Selfie and Forward. If you select Selfie, the clip is briefly analyzed and the subject is then placed in the center of the frame. If you select Forward, the framing is adjusted so that the image matches the camera's forward direction, for example for POV shots. And that's it. If you want, you could export the clip right away. Using two fingers, you can zoom in and out to adjust the field of view, or you can make slight corrections to the framing. Using the icon on the left here, you can select one of the preset fields of view. You'll find the trim function in the menu at the top left. With the trim function, you can crop and shorten the clip. If you're happy with your recording, you can export it as a flat clip here in the top right corner. You'll have significantly more control if you reframe using keyframes. To do this, tap the keyframe icon in the top left corner to open an editor. Then navigate to a position in the clip, select the optimal framing and tap the yellow keyframe icon. The framing is saved for that position. Select a later point in the clip, choose the framing again and add another keyframe. Now the framing will be automatically adjusted between the first and second keyframes. This way, you can reframe the entire clip and customize it to your liking. Another option is the record function in the bottom left corner. When you open it, you can start a kind of reframing recording and dynamically change the framing either with your finger or by moving your smartphone. Your adjustments are saved automatically. There is also a tracking feature here that recognizes the subject and then tracks it automatically. And yes, the app includes a variety of AI features designed to completely take the framing work off your hands. For example, AI Frame automatically tries to select the optimal framing for every moment in the clip. If you don't like the suggested framing, it will offer an alternative. With the editor, you can create a longer video from various individual clips, and Auto Edit automatically selects the best moments within the recording and compiles them into a finished video with music. To get started, I recommend reframing using the Selfie view or the Record feature. Whenever you export a clip, you can adjust the resolution, frame rate and bitrate here. If you want to work with keyframes, I recommend the desktop app. If only because of the larger screen, you'll have significantly more control and a better overview in the desktop app. But the desktop app doesn't have the other AI-powered reframing features found in the mobile app and has significantly fewer features overall. It does have one advantage though. Only in the desktop app can you export a clip in ProRes, which offers the absolute highest quality. If you just want to take a quick shot and don't feel like reframing, you can, as mentioned, also record flat clips with the X6. And you can even do that in 5K at up to 60 frames per second. Unlike in 360 mode, in single lens mode, you have to set the format and field of view before recording. And of course, it's very important that you select the right lens before recording. As usual, open the settings by swiping up from the bottom or by tapping the settings icon. For horizontal shots, select the standard 16:9 aspect ratio. And for vertical shots, choose the 9:16 aspect ratio. A horizon lock feature is also available for better stabilization. For the best image quality, you should definitely shoot in 5K. 5K footage looks significantly more natural and better than footage shot in 4K. However, it also has a downside. HDR processing is active in 4K, which means the dynamic range is slightly better in 4K and highlights are better preserved. That's why you should only switch to 4K in difficult lighting conditions. And as mentioned, you can also shoot flat slow motion videos in 4K at up to 120 frames per second. The results are significantly better than slow motion recordings in 360 mode. It's really cool that you can choose the field of view relatively freely using the icon on the right here. And if needed, apply distortion correction as well. With a value of 0.7, you get an extremely wide field of view, one that would require an additional lens on a conventional action camera. This is ideal for POV shots on a chest or helmet mount. Just like in 360 mode, you open the image settings by swiping from the right edge to the left. And unlike in 360 mode, you can apply cinematic filters to your footage right as you're recording. The X6 also has a dedicated pure video mode for flat videos, which delivers better results in low light conditions. That means that in poor lighting conditions, you should use the pure video mode here as well. In addition to excellent videos, the X6 also takes very good photos. This is possible in 360 mode, and there is a shooting mode that lets you take photos with just one lens. But the X6's real strength lies in its 360 photos. For optimal results, you should set the resolution to 120 megapixels. Below that, you can activate a timer if you want to take a selfie or if you don't want to be in the picture yourself when shooting for virtual tours. In any case, I'd also recommend enabling HDR. This gives the shot a significantly better dynamic range, and highlights, such as windows, won't blow out as quickly. There's even a multiple exposure feature that combines several shots into a single photo for an even better dynamic range. In this case, you should use the camera on a tripod. And if you want to edit the photos extensively yourself, you can select Pure Shot and RAW as the format in the top right corner. This will also give you a RAW file, which is particularly well suited for editing. Before we take a closer look at the app's special features, we definitely need to check out a few important settings in the settings menu. To do that, swipe down from the top edge of the screen. On these pages, you can quickly and easily turn important features on and off. We've already seen some of them. Here, you can also turn sounds on or off, disable the LED lights, adjust the screen brightness, or enable the endurance mode to extend battery life. I definitely recommend enabling quick capture, because then you can start recording immediately even when the camera is turned off. This is important so you don't miss the right moment. On the next page, you'll find the Accessories tab. In the Accessories menu, you can connect various Bluetooth accessories, such as remotes, or, most importantly, microphones like the Mic Pro or the Mic Air. It's very simple. Just activate the pairing mode on the microphone, and then select Add Bluetooth down here. You can connect up to 2 microphones directly to the X6 without a receiver, and then adjust various microphone settings right on the camera. By the way, you'll find the camera's audio settings right here on the right hand side. For optimal audio quality when recording with the internal microphones, I recommend enabling the intelligent audio mode. It analyzes the environment and automatically adjusts the audio settings to the environment. And it works relatively well. Via quick access, you can enable voice control, gesture control, or the extremely useful twist to shoot feature. With twist to shoot, you can start and stop a recording by quickly twisting the stick to which the camera is attached twice. This can be very useful for starting a recording when using the camera on a selfie stick. And one of the X6 standout features is definitely the AI director. If you activate the AI director and take a series of shots throughout the day, you can plug the camera in to charge at the end of the day, and while it's charging, it will automatically analyze the day's clips, identify the most important highlights, and then, in connection with the app, create a montage of the day's best scenes with effects and music. It's all completely automatic. The app notifies you as soon as the clip is ready. If you've disabled push notifications, you'll find your automatic daily vlogs here under Memories. This is a cool new feature of the X6. On the far left page, you'll also find an overview of your storage, where you can select a location to save your recordings and, if needed, format the SD card or the internal storage. There are several ways to transfer your files. Of course, you can use the SD card or simply connect your camera to your computer via USB-C cable. And as we've already seen, you can select your shots in the camera's album and transfer them directly to your smartphone, to the cloud, or to the app. Of course, you can also download your shots once you've connected the camera to the app. And it's time for us to take a closer look at a few special new features of the app. The Insta360 app is definitely one of the major strengths of all Insta360 cameras. And aside from reframing and editing your clips, it also includes a few cool effects under Flashcut or ShotLab that you can apply to your videos. However, 2 features of the app are new and quite special. One of them is Auto Edit 2.0, a completely revamped version of the Auto Edit feature. Here, you select a series of clips, and the app then creates a complete video from them with effects and music, similar to the AI director, except that in this case, you select the clips yourself. And if needed, you can also edit the result, delete individual scenes, or change the order of the clips. By the way, with Moments Pro, there's another auto edit feature for the X6. If you'd like an overview of the X6 various automated editing features, I recommend watching my short video on the topic. But today, I'd also like to show you spatial capture. This is a cloud-based feature of the X6. It lets you create a fully virtual, walkable 3D model of a house or even a garden. You film the space, upload the clip to the cloud, and spatial capture does the rest. Unlike 360 photos, you can move around completely freely within the 3D model. This takes virtual tours to a whole new level. I think that covers everything you need to know to make the most of the X6's many features and have a lot of fun with this camera. Unfortunately, it's possible that you might damage one of the 2 lenses. But no problem, you don't have to send the camera in for that. You can replace the lens cover yourself with a lens replacement kit. It's very simple. To do this, place the X6 on a flat surface and position the lens grip tool so that it grips the notches on the lens ring. Now turn the lens grip tool 30 degrees to the left. This will allow you to remove the lens ring. You can now use this removal tool to carefully remove the lens cover. Next, use the blower to remove any dust or dirt. Use the brush and the cleaning wipe to remove any remaining dirt. And dry the lens with the cloth. Use the suction cup to pick up the new lens cover and install it. Now screw the lens ring back on using the lens grip tool and remove the suction cup. And that's it. I hope my tutorial wasn't too detailed. I'd appreciate any feedback, even if it's suggestions for improvement. And if you're interested in a cheat sheet for the X6, you can find it in the download area for channel members. Thank you very much for your support, and give me a like as feedback if you found the video interesting. There will be more videos about the X6, so stay tuned and see you next time.